Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson and Danny Hernandez. We're going to start this week with Roman Reigns. It has been reported that Roman will be moving to a lighter schedule following his most recent house show in Trenton, where apparently he really lived it up, because word is he will now not be doing any smaller house shows. Reports are that he will be doing mostly TV and premium live events, those I believe being their new name for the pay-per-views, and also bigger house shows such as Madison Square Garden. So, Danny, I'm going to start with you here. I think this is a good idea. It kind of makes sense when considering the way Roman's going. He's probably going to hold the championship until he's 45 at minimum. So I think it's a good idea for them to put a lighter workload on Roman, keep him healthy, keep him fresh, and allow him to perform when the lights shine brightest, mainly on TV and pay-per-views.
I see what you're saying, and that makes sense to me, but I think it's more indicative of the Roman Reigns problem, which is that they've built up this one guy so far beyond anyone else, like since Hulk Hogan. Like, we complained week in and week out about John Cena, except for one person who's not here to defend him.
Or Roman.
But, you know, not to shit talk a guy who's not here to defend himself, but James is a wrestling fan equivalent of a simp, because he just simps for whatever top guy the company says, and that's just how it is. But Roman Reigns is so far above everyone else by design, to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. It's insane. And you know what? Those house show ticket sales are probably going to suffer. And like, yeah, they're small markets, so who gives a shit anyway? You know, kind of terrible mentality to have. But, you know, it's easy for them to be, yeah, who gives a shit? You know, he's our top guy. But the fact that they don't have anyone else as like a suitable replacement, and you know, they're a top tier people in the company, but Roman has now been pushed beyond that to the point where he's on his own tier. Like for me, you know, obviously, like, I'm not going to any show for Roman Reigns. Like, I'm going for the people I like. I'm going for like Becky Lynch. I'm going for Ezekiel. You know, I'm going for like the top tier people and everything. But like, Roman is now on a tier all of his own, because he has surpassed everyone. Because he's oppressive. He's an oppressive character, story-wise and backstage-wise, and I think it's a detriment at this point. I think we've gone past the point of this character being good. The end is nowhere in sight, or maybe it's in sight. Who knows? It doesn't. I think they put all their eggs in one basket, even more than they've ever done in the past, and I think this is the consequence of it. But I also believe that they're different about it now, whereas John Cena leaving really opened their eyes to something, you know, like Cena was the guy, and I don't know if Roman's ever I don't know if he'll be the guy for as long as Cena was, because I think Roman might leave a little sooner to go Hollywood, but I think WWE has embraced that, and they try to spin it now where it's like, look, we produce Hollywood blockbuster leading men. Like, we gave you Batista, we gave you John Cena, we gave you The Rock. Like, now I think now they want their top guys to break out, so they be like, that's our guy. Like, we made that guy. And I think they're now embracing that with Roman. So if he's taking some extra time off to film a movie, you know, they're gonna embrace that. I wish that the top titles weren't being sucked into this vortex that is Roman Reigns. You know, like, what does he call it? The island of relevancy. You know, I know Chad was away for a couple of weeks. He might know a thing or two about islands, but like, I think they need to prepare for the exit of Roman Reigns, you know, and that maybe that guy's Cody, maybe that guy's Drew, maybe that guy is someone from NXT, which maybe Chad would know about. But you know, the Roman Reigns has become a draw. I think, officially. But I think it's also become a problem. There's a Roman Reigns problem, and it's way different than the problem we had just 2.5 years ago before he turned heel. So, like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I will agree that the island of relevancy, as he puts it, has become a problem because if you're not in a feud with Roman at that time, you are essentially irrelevant to an extent. You know, obviously people are on TV and they can be relevant in certain ways. Ezekiel has been a fun segment there. RK Bro is very over. Drew will always, engage the crowd to some extent and so on and so forth. But no one is portrayed to the same level as Roman Reigns. Not even Brock and, say, Goldberg at this point. They're not at his level. So, I mean, I don't have the opinion. It wouldn't shock me if Roman ended up beating out Bruno Sammartino's title reign. I know that's like a running joke on the internet, but wouldn't completely surprise me. But
it's up to him. It's up to Roman.
Yeah, it literally is up to him, and perhaps this part of his lessened schedule is because he is going to have the titles for that long. So it just kind of makes life easier on him. But you're absolutely right. Like, what are they going to do after Roman Reigns? There really is nothing there. The only thing I'm going to push back on is you said he's become a bit of a detriment backstage. I don't think detriment was the word you used, but Roman is from all reports, a really good dude backstage. Like, he is apparently a locker room leader and stuff. Yeah, I just mean like in the offices, so to speak.
His involvement in his character as creative is it's not giving room for other people to blossom. Because I was going to pose this question. Do you think that's him? Yeah, he is the guy who said, if I'm not main event and I want the first match and that's it. And there's a reason that the 6-man tag main evented the fucking pay-per-view the other night, or the premium live event, sorry. But I did want to pose the question. Honestly, this question is directed at a guy who's not here right now mainly, but so James, and anyone else listening and you guys, but is anyone better off for having faced Roman Reigns?
Nope.
Off the top of my head, not that I can think of.
Yeah, it's so.
Except maybe the build with Cowboy Hat Brock, but he doesn't need it.
Is he better off? No.
No, but he also didn't need it. But I think that was just fun. But
no, not the good stuff hasn't come out. Like, there's been good stuff, but like, no one looked. I can tell you,
no one's been elevated.
A few examples I could tell you, and they weren't even elevated because nothing came of it. But Montez Ford, he got a one-on-one match with Roman on a random SmackDown, and it made him look like a future star. The same way AEW does that a lot, and we're like, oh, it's good. He did that with Montez Ford. There's been nothing of note since for Montez to show like any growth or sign of that. And Xavier Woods has one of the only victories over Roman Reigns, which is via countout. But that also was not followed up on. So really, nothing good is coming. No one's looking good but Roman. So that's the problem. And I don't want to always talk about Becky Lynch, because I actually think I've actively made Kevin, who's always in our chats, dislike Becky because of that. But it's weird because he brings it up more than I do. But I can honestly say without bias that you can look at her title reign and see the proof that people came out looking better than they did going in. Liv Morgan, Doudrop, Bianca Belair. Hell, she gave Lita possibly the best match of her career, except for maybe the main event with Trish. And even then, technically speaking, it's a better wrestling match. But she always brings people up. So even if they lose, they are not plummeted down the card. Did Cesaro went into a random tag team with Mansoor after his feud with Roman Reigns.
And now he's gone.
And dipped off.
Owens did fucking nothing after that. He I mean, his feud with Rollins was good, but he didn't feel like a bigger deal after that.
Now, granted, he did end up facing Stone Cold, but I don't think that was
Yeah,
due
but
to him
that's
facing
over
Roman.
a year and a half. Yeah, like that's a lot of
Yeah.
time between
That's
those
just
two
them
things.
trusting Owens to be good enough to carry that feud by
Yeah.
himself and then
now
put on
look,
a
and
staged
now
and good match
Owens
with Austin.
is facing the biggest star in the company in Ezekiel. So like Owens is doing better off, but it's not a direct correlation from the Roman Reigns feud. And then who else has he feuded with? Bryan and Edge. Neither of them are better off because of that, but in their case, they should be the ones making Roman look better, and they did. So they did their jobs.
Yeah, Bryan left.
Like, yeah, it's like peace. I'm out. Like, you know, I did my job and I'm leaving. Like that's how you do it.
That's two people he's made leave in this reign.
Who did he feud with after that? Who did he feud with before the Brock feud?
Okay. The one person that sticks out that does look better now, but doesn't really, would be Jey Uso, which is debatable.
Yeah, that's when this started, and it was good.
It was really good to the point
this is where this fell apart. Actually, you just fucking reminded me.
Mm-hmm.
When Jimmy came back is when this fell apart.
Yep.
Because Jimmy just fell in line like a little DUI bitch that he is. Like he could have, like if he had stood up to Roman more and he had the same match, they moved Hell in a Cell from October to June, seemingly to have this match with Jimmy in the Hell in a Cell the same way he had the match with Jay, and then they just had a match with the Mysterios instead, and it's just not been good since then. It's the story has fallen apart at the seams. It's insane, man. Like, bro, like, oh god, you fucked that shit up.
All right, I think
Jimmy is the problem.
I think we've kind of lost the plot here. This was about Roman lightening his schedule, so I would like to go to Chad here and get Chad. I'd like to get your opinions on Roman actually lightening his schedule instead of just all of our gripes about Roman Reigns as champion.
So many gripes. So for this particular situation, it's a double-edged sword. I agree with Danny. WWE has literally put every single egg, even the shell of eggs they don't own, in one basket and made this like abysmal. Of course the guy needs time off because now you fucking have the undisputed WWE championship around his waist. He's carrying 2 belts. So he has to be on Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-view. So of course he's going to want to lessen his schedule. You guys should not have fused these titles. There should not have been a unification. It makes no sense right now. It's like they've painted themselves in such a corner that I don't understand who is supposed to win. And if they do win, does that make them better off? They're just going to be the guy who beat Roman, who's had the championship for 3 years. They're not building any stars. And Roman's probably going to get bored and just say, hey, give the title to so-and-so. And then what the fuck do we do? The booking. The booking is abysmal. It's destroying the brand. It's not a good look. You got to get the belt off of Roman ASAP.
At least one of
the belts. Yeah. Like, at least one of them. You have to do something here, and desperately, like, quick.
And it's not even, I mean, I'm convinced it's not even going to be somebody beating Roman. It's going to be like a triple threat or a fatal 4-way or something. And that person will pin somebody else and Roman won't be involved in the decision. And that's how you get one of the belts off of Roman, because he's not taking a pin right now, at least not for a title. So, yeah, there are Roman problems. I think it's very evidently clear. We've spent about 15 minutes talking about it. But, you know, and I just think, as you said, Chad, because they have the 2 titles and that schedule, even without these live events, you know, at least the smaller ones, is grueling. You know, like you said, SmackDown on Friday, Raw on Monday. If there's a pay-per-view, then that's Sunday. You got 3 out of 4 days there. You know, that's borderline an entire work week. So giving him off, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week seems to be a smart move if he's pulling double duty like that.
I mean, this is a guy who beat leukemia. We don't want to destroy his body unnecessarily, honestly. Yeah. If, you know, on the outside looking in, you don't want to tax your champions too much. It's it's not good for any story, and it's not good for any business. And Vince knows that. So come on.
And I
it's
mean,
bad for business in the sense that, you made this guy your main ticket seller, and now he's not going to be on the shows that need ticket sellers like more than anything.
Exactly.
So at least TV shows sell themselves because it's Raw and SmackDown to a degree. The house shows are going to take a dive.
Yeah, but this isn't, the 80s and 90s. They're not necessarily getting all of their revenue off of these house shows. You used to have your top guys on those shows because you ended up with a lot more revenue from those than you did pay-per-views or TV. Now you're getting all your money from, Fox and NBC and the pay-per-views. So house shows are still good, but you're not necessarily raking in as much money. Your primary source of funds isn't from the house shows the way it used to be. So you can afford to take Roman off of these, smaller town shows in, South Dakota. Not to, single out South Dakota, but you can afford to take them off shows like that and, not really have it total your bottom line.
And now that you said that, it's brought me to another point. To have Roman beat fatigue and exhaustion, they're absolutely going to fucking tag team match us to death or fatal four-way us to death so that he has that pocket or that window of rest where he doesn't have to be fighting every single day, every other hour, champion. And that's why we got this bum-ass main event at Backlash, which was a good match, but fuck that. I'm still mad.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like he's wrestling every week on regular television, at least as far as I understand. I don't think he is. I feel like he's mostly doing promos and stuff. So, him not being on house shows is two, maybe even, 1 or 2 less days he's taking bumps, as opposed to him doing it. Well, there's those 2 weeks if he's not taking them on TV. Right. It's just a matter of, all right, let's just lessen his bumps so that this way, when he does wrestle, he can go as, hard as he probably has to. And also, too, I mean, Chad, you brought up his health problems. We are still in a pandemic, kids. Like, it is still a thing, The less exposure he has to traveling, the better, both for those reasons and because, traveling is exhausting. And if he doesn't have to go to, the South Dakotas and the Iowas of the world and, on a consistent basis and just be in the middle of nowhere 5 days a week.
This is when you...
Sure, it'll be good for him, too.
This is when you kayfabe an injury. Right now, immediately. Lose the title, no rematch, he's hurt. Let him rest for a couple months. Get him back.
But they don't want to take the title off of him is the problem. There's a good chance he beats Bruno's record, man. And all of the Italians will be up in arms. But but I really do think there's a good chance he beats that title reign. And with at least one of them. I don't know which one it'll be. Whatever one he's held long. I guess the Universal, I think he's held longer. So it is what it is. But I just think this makes sense for Roman Reigns, the wrestler, in terms of being able to maximize what he can do for the long haul.
Yeah, in terms of anatomy, absolutely.
Yep. All right. Let's move along here to a couple of comments that Brody King made over this past week, where he was urging fans to be patient with booking. And I got a couple of quotes here, and pardon me for reading off my laptop. I feel like the fans want instant gratification at all times, and then they get frustrated when they have to wait for it, he said. But once it all pans out and you finally see the finished product and why these things are happening, then they go, oh, then they get to see these callbacks and all these little Easter eggs and hints that were given along the way. We saw Avengers Endgame before we saw the 20 movies before that, and Thanos just got defeated. It's like, oh, okay. They get you more invested and get you to the point where you have to wait for it and you want it and you're just dying for it. Then it finally happens and you're like, yes, this is why I've waited so long for it. Not to say this is as complex as that, but I feel like wrestling is, at times, that missing factor of making fans wait for it, making them beg for it, and at times criticize it because they're not getting it. When my 3-year-old wants ice cream and I tell him he's got to wait for dinner, he's going to yell at me until he gets it. But when he eats, he's happy about it. So that was a lot. Now my eyes are watering. But Danny, I know this was something you wanted to talk about. So I'm gonna just let you have at it.
So I should have been a little more prepared for this and brushed up on my logic and fallacies, but this is 100% a fallacy. I cannot remember which exact one it is, but you're painting a picture of, not you, obviously Brody, but like you're painting a picture of this world, and maybe it's false equivalence, I'm not sure, but you're comparing this story to Endgame and the MCU, and wrestlers love to do this where they always blame the fans, and it's such an easy boomer mentality. And it's like, not that any of these people saying are boomers, but it's like the boomer mentality of like, oh, your generation so entitled and you're so lazy and you want instant gratification. Bro, when I hear that, I 90% of the time I'm gonna disqualify your argument, because you're using keywords and buzzwords to, you're just, damn, what fallacy is it? Whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's not instant gratification. It's a story that was started months ago and dropped and barely mentioned. And no, Dark doesn't count. I don't care what she was doing on Dark. And every time she's on TV, it's the same thing. She's pouty, nothing happens.
This is Julia Hart you're
doesn't
speaking
come
of.
out. Yes. Nothing comes out. Nothing happens when House of Black comes out. And then we finally, months later, get some semblance of a payoff, and then it's not even a payoff. So it's not instant gratification. It has been no gratification for months and months without any signs of anything to come. Like, what, Pac got misted and he got all weird and he was wearing an eye patch and he teased going dark, but he didn't. Like that's something. Penta was something that was payoff, and that wasn't told in just 1 week. We didn't want instant gratification. The payoff of Alex Hernandez was dressing like an idiot the whole time just for Phoenix to come back as cloaked. That's something. That's a little. You can compare that to the MCU in a weak way if you want.
I think but that's your false equivalency.
Yeah, like there's nothing about the Julia. Like it's something that it's just unfortunate, because I was into it when it first happened. I was cool with that. I was like, yeah, bring her in, have a female in the faction. Brody King said that Edge's House of Purple, Judgment Day, whatever you want to call them, were the Wish.com version of House of Black. But you know what? You know who looks a lot cooler now? Fucking House of Purple with Rhea Ripley involved. The three of them standing together look fucking badass.
I like how Edge cut his hair just like her too.
Yeah. That was a very, very nice touch.
That's a plus, honestly.
Yeah, no, it really is. But if I just gel back my hair, I have that same hairstyle basically. But fucking, they look way better than House of Black right now, because House of Black's circling the drain. Like, but that being said, I love House of Black, and I have faith that they will get good again in a heartbeat. If they're gonna have a pay-per-view match with the Death Triangle, that's gonna be fucking amazing. But you can't just deflect. Like, that's a bad way to deflect criticism, because you're just attacking the people that are criticizing you, which is another fallacy, attacking the character of the person instead of addressing the issue. Just can't remember the names of any of them, but that's all you're doing, is like you're attacking the fans' credibility instead of addressing the criticism. And then you're making a huge comparison, and none of that is that's not how you do it. That's not how you address criticism. It's okay to just be like, hey, this got put on the back burner for a while, but now we're trying to heat it back up again. And it's okay to ask for patience from the crowd, but to blame them and say that they're being impatient, when it's like, bro, like, no one complained about how long the Hangman and Kenny Omega story took to play out. There's a huge difference between what you're saying and what's happening. So I don't know. I don't like when wrestlers do this. That's a pet peeve of mine with wrestlers and interviews and how they handle criticism.
That's exactly where I was going to go with this, was comparing, these comments to Hangman's situation, where Hangman's situation played out over 2 years before he ended up winning the title. And I think we had our criticisms at certain points because, occasionally when you do something for that long, you'll have some like lulls and some dips, and, you also have your high points. So, I understand wanting fans to be patient. I even think on this past week of Dynamite, I said this on the live show that we taped, that we did before this. I was getting a little impatient with some of the Jericho Appreciation Society stuff and the Blackpool Combat Club stuff. And guess what? It ended up paying off. So I think he does make good points about being patient, but I also think that he should understand that you fans are and should be allowed to criticize poor things when they happen. If you want to compare this to the MCU, Thor: The Dark World was not a good movie, especially compared to most of the other ones. And I'll tell you what, they took that criticism, brought what's his name in for the third one. I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not even gonna try it. And the third one ended up, third Thor ended up being fantastic. So I think, especially with House of Black, Chad, there's a lot of criticism to be had between, there's the weird Andrade angle and them just not being on TV. So I understand why he wants people to be patient, but like, we're kind of running out of patience here because this has gone nowhere for a while now.
Right. I guess I'm somewhere at the 50-50 point. I absolutely agree with Danny and what you said, Rev, but I do also agree that we need to be patient. However, like Danny said, this is not the way to do it or to ask for it. You don't say, hey, be patient, great shit is coming, and then not show signs of anything great. That kind of, that defeats the purpose. I do believe that when something does come from this, that it'll be good enough, or maybe they're just repurposing the idea to make it better now that we've waited so long. And I do want to, not being an apologist, but I do want to give AEW grace, because when they do make us wait, it does usually pay off well. However, we kind of want to see these guys. We haven't seen any matches, just, a promo every other week, and that's kind of not going to cut it. So you're asking us to be patient, and we're saying no. Take the criticism. I mean, we've been waiting already forever, and if we are going to wait much longer, it needs to be something groundbreaking. It has to be something that's going to put all stables and tag teams and everything on its ear, and I don't really see that with this here. So yeah.
I mean,
I think
also
that
when I'm sorry, but in the quote where he's like, when my 3-year-old wants ice cream and I tell him he's got to wait for dinner, he's going to yell at me until he gets it. But when he eats, he's happy about it. One, real nice comparing us to 3-year-olds. Fucking great. But, that's borderline ad hominem and fallacies. But also, that's not even a good example, because the kid would have been happy about it at whatever point he gets the ice cream, and if it was up to the kid, he would have the ice cream right away, which I guess is what he's trying to say that we just want it right away. But
have it for dinner.
I think I just don't think that's a good point. And also, again, like, bro, this shit isn't even ice cream at this point. It's or we can use it as ice cream, right? The ice cream fucking melted, bro. Melted months ago, like 4 weeks after you sprayed Julia Hart with the mist. Buddy Matthews wasn't even there at that point, Like, you added a whole new member.
That's the funniest part about the instant gratification. It's like, we've been waiting for months. This is not someone who's going to be the women's champion in a week.
If we were complaining 2 weeks after, yeah, sure, give a shit.
Right.
But like,
also too, like, they haven't been on television. If you were being like, hey, like, be patient, the story will be progressing, like, like, this is going somewhere, I understand that. There's no story to be had. They're on TV like once every 6 weeks, and they do like a little bit of storyline and then go away, and then they have like a couple spooky vignettes, and that's it. So like, does he have a point to an extent? Yes, but what he's commenting on just doesn't necessarily apply here. It's just they're not on TV.
Just ask for patience. Don't give a shit. Don't do the whole instant gratification thing. Just say, I hear you. Give us a little more patience. Say more patience. Acknowledge that we've given you time, a lot of time.
Yeah, be like, hey, look, like we want to be on TV telling the story. You just got to be patient. Like we'll get there, but or more patient. Yeah, but he's but yeah, throwing the fans under the bus, never really a good look. I don't know if that was necessarily his intention here, but I think at least applied to his circumstance, to his storylines, buddy, like, come on, there's only so much patience we can give when we're not getting any food at all. We're not getting dinner or the ice cream.
And especially AEW fans, we fucking wait when you guys say wait.
Yeah, because I think AEW has proved that our patience will almost every time be rewarded.
Absolutely.
The Hangman storyline, I think, being the obvious example. So we're waiting, Brody, but we're waiting for something to actually be given to us.
It better be groundbreaking, Brody. This is me saying to you directly. It better be fucking phenomenal.
I do have a bit of faith in Malachi Black with that shit. I don't know about groundbreaking, but I kind of have faith enough in him to deliver on something cool. I think he just needs to be given the opportunity.
It's going to be cool as shit. Maybe I am kind of just tired of waiting now.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's okay because we're tired of waiting for something to happen just because nothing has happened. We're the kids standing outside Mr. Incredible's house on our tricycle. What do you wait? I don't know, just something
cool amazing, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, because nothing is happening. And not in terms of, like, this is a lame story. No, there is no story at all because they're not on TV. All right. Let's move on back to WWE. Lacey Evans has returned to action of late, and she's been getting a lot of video packages, seemingly portraying her as a face. They've been mostly about her life as a child, and then her growing up to becoming a Marine to get her, her shit together. And they've been seemingly very cool. But recent reports have come out that she's now going to go to Raw and turn heel. So, Danny, I'm going to go to you again first because you are resident Raw rewinder. Or fast forwarder, excuse me. Sorry. It's been a while since I've held my VCR remote. It's at my mother's house. So what the hell is going on with this?
So it would actually help if we had a SmackDown fast forward because this all started on SmackDown. But, Lacey Evans is making her return after having a child, which is great. I'd like to point out that, before she left, she was implied to be having sex with Ric Flair, and I don't think that should be forgotten. But
it was also kind of implied it was Rick's kid, and I would like to point out it is not Rick's kid, thankfully.
Yeah, but they started vignettes for her, which is cool, building up the hype. But they're all super emotional and touch on real issues and real problems in her life. Their father was abusive and had drinking problems, and like he who's bad to her and her mom. And then she joined the military, the Marines, to get her life together, and that was hard. And now she's here and she's going to come back and be SmackDown Women's Champion and all this stuff. But then this past Friday, she came out and demanded the crowd applaud her and stand up and give her the respect she deserves, which, from the way they're telling the story, she does deserve it. But to ask for it, or demand it, that's a heelish move. And then on Raw this past week, they played one of those video packages, and there was no mention of the, demand and the applaud, but also these have been happening on SmackDown for like 4 or 5 weeks at this point. And then she came out for like a split second on SmackDown, and now they're playing it on Raw. And she's reportedly just been, I guess, quietly, but not really quietly because the thing played on TV, switched to Raw. And she's reportedly going to be a heel, which just doesn't make sense because there's plenty of ways to portray patriotism as a heel, as a heel character. We all know people in real life whose patriotism kind of makes them seem like a bad person.
We the people to actually use a wrestling reference.
And you know what?
Okay.
I was super into that. I thought that was really good. I was like, bro, this is ballsy heel work right here. I was, I'm into it. But so there are ways to do it, and WWE have done it, but this is not the way to do it. Is there a character? Are we victim blaming here? Are we victim shaming here? I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. I kind of like that she's on Raw because the Raw women's division is fucking sweet right now. It's I don't care about. I actually feel bad for Ronda because I don't know who the fuck she's gonna face. Now. Because at first, when she came out, when she did that kind of heel move, I was like, okay, I guess she's just going to be the person to face Ronda now that Ronda's champion. And that's fine. Like, well, it's whatever. But now I don't know who Ronda faces. Aaliyah? Like, I don't fucking know.
Xia Li.
Maybe. But, Lacey being on Raw is cool. She can, if she stays face, she can face Becky and they can have the dynamics flip. She can be a challenger for Bianca, who needs some fresh heels to face. She can feud with Asuka. There's so much going on in the Raw Women's division. So adding Lacey is just like a nice little bonus, but I just don't understand how you can possibly make this version of her character heel. It's weirdly tone deaf in a way that, because it goes against all of WWE's like innate like internal wants, like their primal desires to have a patriotic blue-eyed American baby face, and they're doing that and it's working. They're like, no, she's the bad guy. She's the bad guy. It's fucking victim abuse, like abuse victim. Like, are you kidding me? Cheer her? Oh God, no. Like, it's insane to me. What do you guys think? I don't fucking.
So I remember back when Lacey came up in NXT, and there was always two schools of thought about her, which both worked perfectly. Either you play up, she's the Marine and a mom, like a working mom, like tough woman face, or you play up like she's the, bitchy Southern Belle heel, which is what we mostly got of her on her main roster run. So you can do one or the other, and I'm sure you could flip them and figure out how to do the Southern Belle face or the hard ass Marine heel. I'm sure you can figure that out. But the way they seem to be playing this, at least in the video packages, makes no sense being a heel. You do not give the sob story and pull myself up by my bootstraps, literally in this case, because she went to the Marines and got a pair of combat boots. You don't do that and then have this woman be a heel. That makes no sense in my mind. So this is just, once again, in my opinion, just the failure of WWE to understand what their characters are, which is what they're very good at doing. And then also their failure of knowing how to use them. Because like you said, Danny, she is the perfect, blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman to push as the face of this division. She's a fucking Marine. That's everything Vince could ask for, and Johnny Ace could ask for in one of the women in that division. And they're just like, nah, she's gonna be heel after building her apparently, for a few weeks as a face. So, I mean, I'm just as confused as you are, Chad. I imagine you're just as confused as the both of us. Yes, you are. Okay.
I'm very confused, but also this hurts me because I won't say huge. I won't go out on a limb and say huge, but I am a big Lacey Evans fan. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
from NXT to now, like I've been in her corner forever. This is the most ridiculous, ignorant storytelling they could do. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. Number one, if it's not broke, don't fix it. She was slated to win the championship. She got pregnant. She bowed out for a while. She could come back as the very same character because she was making strides as that character. Like you said, if you want her to be the hard-hitting Marine face, then she can absolutely be a face. I'm quite sure they want her to be a heel so she could face Bianca, which is fine. But then just bring her back as the sassy Southern Belle Hill. Why tie in this whole novel sob story and something new to everybody, and then out of nowhere, I was abused, so now I'm gonna abuse the women's division as a heel. It makes no sense. It's a terrible look.
If she says that line though, like I'll be into it. She's like you said, like I was abused. Now I'm gonna abuse this division. It's fucked up, but I'll definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say you only like it because it's fucked up.
Absolutely dark humor. Hire me, WWE. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. They're shitting on her character. She's gonna kick ass because she's a good wrestler, and I'm sure she'll get a title sooner or later, but it's wrong.
You know, if you want her to come back as the Marine, like have her come back as like a borderline drill instructor. You know,
that's
what I mean?
fine. That would work.
Yeah, do something like that where she's like, all right, I'm going to be the hard ass Marine and whip the women's division into
this
shape.
Division is going to shape up. Yeah, that would be perfect. Kind of like what Natalya is doing on NXT, but just not well.
Yeah, like if you want to play into that, but or like you said, go back to the or like we all say, go back to the Southern Belle thing. She was doing great with that. I mean, she had the whole feud with Becky, and then she teamed up with Corbin and everything, and she had a couple of really good feuds there too. I think right before she ended up in that whole Charlotte and Rick debacle, I think she was tagging with Peyton Royce for some weird reason.
Yes, she was. And calling everyone little nasties. I mean, but it worked.
She always called them little nasties. You know, she had the handkerchief, and I also think the women's right is an all-time great name for a move.
Phenomenal for a feminist Marine. Like it.
I hate it as a finisher. The
great
name
signature.
Is A+ name though.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, it was always a signature in NXT, and then she had another finisher, and then they just never let her use it on main roster for some reason.
I think she just swapped because I mean she does like. See, that's the thing is Lacey does a lot of cool moves. Like she really does. She isn't the best wrestler, but she found moves that are flashy and that pop, and then she slowly gotten really good at them over time. Like she's someone you can see improve over time. Like when she first came up, it was like, oh god, this is gonna be a little rough. Like when she when she was like the number one entry in the Royal Rumble, either the first or the second Women's Royal Rumble, whichever one she debuted in, it was kind of rough. But by the time she had her matches with Becky, it was like, oh no, okay, I could already see vast improvement. And then when she was facing Bayley and Sasha, I was like, oh, this is a totally different person. Like she definitely has it. Like she's nowhere near my favorite, but I have no issues with Lacey Evans. Like I've rarely ever looking like a match like, oh, Lacey Evans shouldn't have won that match. Like, like she's one of those people. She's good. She's like the perfect upper mid card person. She's someone that, yeah, you needed a feud with some of the lesser women. You needed a feud with like a Natalya or someone. You can do it. If you need her to face if you need her to step up and face the big girls of the division, she can do that. Like she's like that perfect mid carder. So it's just a weird direction to go in.
Yeah, she was definitely one of those people who was probably brought up a little too early from NXT, especially because she started so late, like wrestling, and so
I disagree.
I think she came up a little early.
I agree in the sense that she got called up too early, but I disagree in the fact that No, if she stayed in NXT any longer, she would have gotten too good, and then her main roster run would have been a fucking dud. So she's
Danny's
in the
theory of
Elias
NXT.
tier of, and she didn't succeed in NXT, so she's doing better on the main roster.
I meant it more as a
in
skill-wise
terms
thing.
of experience and ability, yes, she
Yes.
needed more time, absolutely.
But yes, because she left early and didn't do anything on NXT, Danny's theory of NXT call-ups comes into play, and
It's almost 100% accurate.
you're not wrong, which is insane.
He's not wrong at all.
It's weird how often that theory is proven true.
Ezekiel wasn't even in NXT, and look how good he's doing. So.
Yeah,
True.
He's got a point, Sting.
Also, I will say that I personally, as a huge fan of Bianca Belair, I thought she was called up too early as well. And that theory went out the window because she's doing great.
Why though?
The theory applies though, because she was called up too early. She didn't do anything in NXT.
I mean, are you saying that just because she never won the NXT Women's title? Because otherwise, she was ready to go. Bianca was.
It might be that she didn't win the title and then she just.
It's more like it felt like unfinished as opposed to too early.
Yes.
Like it felt unfinished.
Especially because she had so many feuds around that title that I thought she should have had it once before she went to the main roster.
And you know what? To your point too, it's easy to forget now because she's done so well, but she didn't do anything for like an entire year after getting called up.
Mm-hmm.
Like she did nothing until she won the Rumble, at all. She beat Zelina Vega 12 times in 10 months, and then wasn't on TV when she wasn't beating Zelina Vega. So when Zelina got fired for a couple of weeks, that was rough going. But so yeah, I get what you mean in that, but she is. Forget about it. She's
out of
bigger
here.
than all of NXT at this point.
Yeah.
So she's a prime example for my theory. But
yeah, she was definitely somebody where she could have had more to do, but her coming up just allowed her to continue her story rather than showing up as a finished product.
Right.
As compared to, say, the 4 Horsewomen, because they all showed up as finished products, and we got annoyed, especially Bayley. We got annoyed when they weren't doing what they were doing in NXT.
True.
Bianca, she was a finished product in terms of in the ring and stuff, but her story there was still much more to be told. Mm-hmm. So it allowed her to, come up, languish a bit, and then win the Rumble and go on from there. So, and I do think Lacey should be a good foil for her, despite the fact that it's very odd the way they're going about it. If she does feud with Bianca, I think Lacey could end up being, a very good opponent. They're fairly diametrically opposed in terms of, character. Where Lacey's, button-up Marine, and Bianca's a bit more flashy and showy. And
yeah, that's a feud that writes itself almost.
Yeah, especially if we're going, pull myself up by my bootstraps, Marine Lacey Evans.
And I think you need a good feud to carry over it. And so, because I think they're going to hold off on doing Rhea Bianca, because I think that's the SummerSlam type of match, and that's where Bianca loses the title. I think it's 100% to Rhea. So, you can't do that right away, or at least I hope they don't do it right away. So Lacey is the perfect. We also have Alexa, but that's why I said earlier the Raw Women's division is fucking fantastic, because Bianca can defend against Asuka, Alexa. I think they're definitely going to do a triple threat at the pay-per-view or whatever's next. They'll do Becky, Bianca, and Asuka as a triple threat. Maybe they do an Asuka singles match. They could do an Alexa Bliss match. They can do Lacey Evans, and then finally Rhea Ripley, and that's where it ends.
And then honestly, just the little in between title matches that will just be on Raw. You have the the Dewdrops and the Carmellas, who always sneaks into the title picture, but little ones like that will be great.
Yeah, also, I agree with you. We didn't put this on our doc, but I think we should just mention it real quick. Charlotte Flair is going to be off TV for at least some period of time after the I Quit match. She's written off with a kayfabe injury, and I think it's really just so she can get married to that guy in AEW. But
Andrade, for those of you who don't know,
she's going to be gone for a little bit, which is good, but that also leaves with Lacey switching over, Charlotte being gone. That's why earlier I said Ronda has no one to face at all on SmackDown.
Lacey Ronda would have been fine as well, especially a heel Lacey.
Yeah, but
Again, the story.
Or you have like a returning Alexa and you put on Raw instead of SmackDown, which is, in desperate need of more women. I don't know. Chad, I would like to point out that both of your fist pumps got on camera there.
Awesome.
Nice.
I mean, look, I think it's going to be kind of refreshing to not have Charlotte in the title picture.
Yes.
Because, we always talk about like the vortex around Cody Rhodes or the vortex around Jericho. There's a vortex around, Charlotte too. Like, anytime she has the title, like everything just gets sucked to her. And even when she doesn't have the title, everything gets sucked to her and the title becomes a secondary thing. So
and
I always hate when people are off TV, especially for injury. I know this isn't one of them. And I do think, after a while, like the women's division, the last time Charlotte was out, it did miss her. But it might be nice to, have her take a step back and let the women's division breathe a bit without her.
So I don't want to keep dwelling on this for too long. Sorry, man. But
even your voice doesn't want you to.
The same question I posed with Roman Reigns. Who's better off having faced Charlotte? Like,
not a single soul.
The same thing applies.
Well, when? I think is my
in
question.
The past 3 years.
No one.
Is the man the last 3 years?
No, and she's
Nope.
not better off for facing Charlotte since 2018. Any match since then, she's not better off from. But
that's how off my timeline is, man. Like I don't even remember when that WrestleMania was.
Also, Charlotte takes time off and comes back all the time, so nothing's gonna change. It's the same shit. And she's always in the title picture. She's never not in the title picture.
That's her biggest problem.
Good thing about Lacey fucking her dad was that wasn't a title program. But even then, she was the tag champ at that point. So it's still kind of like there's.
Oh God,
Charlotte has nothing to do when she's not the champion or fighting for the title, and that's the problem with her bookend.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. That is 100% her biggest problem because she comes back and then she immediately gets slingshotted to the title because she's like booked that strongly. People jokingly call her Woman Reigns, but it's true. Like she's always just on a tier higher than everyone else. And yeah, like she'll lose to Sasha or she'll lose to Becky or, in this, she just lost to Ronda, but like, it doesn't matter. She's already, done, she's already there. It doesn't matter what happens to her. She's already on a level higher than them. So even when she loses the title, she either gets the shot or the booking completely still surrounds her.
Yeah. And Charlotte doesn't always win. It's just she wins a lot of the wrong times and she doesn't make anyone look better anymore. It's been a long time.
Yeah, sorry there. Yeah, you know what? I don't really have anything else on that. I got super distracted. All right, so let's do one more thing really quick then. Just a brief thing on Money in the Bank. So the past couple of days, starting with the pay-per-view and going into Monday Night Raw, we've had some Money in the Bank promos as the premium live event is coming up. And Danny noticed something very interesting where they're mentioning that the winner of Money in the Bank goes to the WrestleMania main events as opposed to getting a shot at the title anytime, any place, anywhere, which is redundant, those last two things. But you know what I mean? So this could just be an oversight by WWE, or this could be a whole new stipulation to Money in the Bank. So let us recklessly speculate for a few minutes. I will start by saying this is a terrible idea if they go through with this. We already have a match that sends you to technically the main event of WrestleMania, and considering now there's 8 of them, but that is called the Royal Rumble and is in January. And it's already awesome. And secondly, do you really want to take away the anticipation and the surprise of Money in the Bank? I know the women's division for it hasn't necessarily been booked great. I think most of the women's Money in the Bank winners have cashed in the night of or the next day, outside of maybe Carmella. She won it twice in 2 weeks. But the amount of fantastic moments that have come out of the Money in the Bank being cashed in is seemingly out of nowhere. I mean, off the top of my head, I immediately just think of Seth Rollins making a triple threat in San Francisco between him, Roman, and Brock. Dolph Ziggler's always comes to mind in New York because that was amazing and still one of the best pops I've ever heard. So I just don't understand why, Chad, that they would change the stipulation. It's perfect as is, especially I know they used it this way last year with the Miz, where they just kind of use him as a quick transitional champion, but it worked. Like, you can easily use it to book yourself out of certain situations, or you can use it to just get a title on a guy you really want to see have a title on and create a fantastic moment.
Right. I am so glad you came to me first instead of Danny, because he is going to disagree with everything that you just said, and I agree with everything you just said. I think this idea is ridiculous. I mean, again, this is speculation for now. However, I think this idea is the shits. It's terrible. I'm going to go on record and say that Money in the Bank is probably, even with the results we've been getting and the lackluster results, just the last couple of years, I think Money in the Bank is my absolute favorite pay-per-view besides Elimination Chamber. It was something new. It was fresh. Like you said, the unpredictability of when somebody will cash in, that alone, the thrilling suspense of that alone makes this pay-per-view great, to the point where I almost don't care who wins. I just can't wait to see them reap the benefits of having this briefcase. So if you take that away and they just automatically get a title shot at WrestleMania, then this becomes Royal Rumble Part 2. And that, I don't think, makes much sense on top of already the Royal Rumble. We know how the Royal Rumble has been booked the last couple of years, and we have our doubts about that. But I think this is just so stupid. The unpredictability, the suspense, the thrill of not knowing when somebody's going to cash in, or making a match better like Seth Rollins did to make the triple threat match. You cannot take that away. You take that away and the product falls flat. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I also find it dumb too because of just the difference in the matches between the Rumble and the Money in the Bank match. Like,
right.
At least there's some randomness to the Rumble, in kayfabe. Like, there's 30 people in it. Mm-hmm. So any of those people in theory could win, where there's only 6 people in the Money in the Bank matches. So you're really limiting the people that can win. So you're going to tell me that one of these 6 people in a match you have in June is going to be main eventing next fucking March or early April?
You know what can happen in that span of time?
Right. Plus also too, like, carrying around the briefcase and, and having someone be able to cash in at random, but just carrying around the briefcase is almost like having an extra title in a certain way. Like, it can really elevate a person. I think Seth Rollins, before he cashed in at Mania that year, like, did some of his best work as Money in the Bank winner and not even as champion. The whole J&J security run and all that stuff. Like, I think he threatened Edge, I think, when he had the briefcase. Like, that whole run was amazing. And he held that briefcase for a minute too. So
I take this news and I don't receive it. I won't stand for this. Actually, this is not going to happen. Let's speculate that this is a no-go. I refuse to believe it. I would rather them discontinue the Money in the Bank pay-per-view and put the Money in the Bank match back on WrestleMania before they do this.
Damn near enough time, and then you have 2 nights of WrestleMania.
I know, but
I think I always say, out of all the quote-unquote stipulation pay-per-views, I think this is the only one that actually deserves its own pay-per-view. Like, Hell in a Cell doesn't need it and everything. Like, all those other stupid ones, TLC, Extreme Rules, those don't need them. Elimination Chamber and Money in the Bank are the only 2 I think actually work.
I enjoyed those more than WrestleMania almost every year.
Yeah.
except for this last one.
Also, plus, like, you have Elimination Chamber, which usually is after the Rumble, in between like the Rumble and Mania, or at least that's traditionally when it is. Doesn't that determine the other title, or at least it used to, the other title shot? So now we have another match determining a title shot. It's just, I don't know. For me, Danny, it's a lot.
I rebuke it.
Chad did the first two stages of grief in about 5 minutes, anger to denial immediately.
So, yeah, that's the thing is right now, I do doubt it, but it's just the way they phrased it.
It's too coincidental.
The exact phrase is one lucky male and female superstar will win the chance to main event WrestleMania. It is hard to take that as theoretical, like, oh, because they could cash in to win the championship and then go into Mania. That's a stretch. That is a fucking stretch.
That's a Stretch Armstrong stretch.
There's they could just be changing the stipulation, which is not good, especially doing it this far out. And I saw someone say, oh, it could be like, that could be promotional material for the Rumble that's put in this clip. And it's like, nope, there's just no way. They can make a lot of production mistakes. There's no way that's the one. But I will push back on a little bit of what you guys were saying. One, as great as it was as a part of Mania, Money in the Bank is almost always a great pay-per-view. It's always top 3 of the year for WWE.
Agreed.
I would never want them to get rid of it. It's
Punk
too
Cena
late.
in Chicago.
Yeah, you can't not have it after that. It's bigger. Get rid of Survivor Series, okay? We don't need that shit anymore, okay? Survivor Series is an outdated show that they just don't even want to do. You could tell it's almost in the way.
You're right, Danny. I demand Money in the Bank be in the Big Four now. Thanks.
Yeah, it more or less is. It really is.
It is.
It was always like the 5th pay-per-view, like the big ones, and now like I think Survivor Series has gone so much by the wayside, and they only do it just so they could say a Thanksgiving tradition since 19 whatever.
Yeah. In our eyes, it's in the Big Four, but in their eyes, it's right outside. But also, I agree with everything you were saying, Rev, about the briefcase. Having the briefcase being, a good way to push someone, and Seth Rollins. I agree with everything you said about Seth Rollins, but I mean, and this is more in the company because they don't have to do this, but man, a lot of times winning the briefcase just means you're going to lose a shit ton before you cash in and become champion. That's just the weird formula they like to have, but
makes it more unpredictable.
That aside, I think the Money in the Bank is actually more unpredictable than the Royal Rumble. Damian Sandow won a Money in the Bank ladder match. He'll never win a fucking Royal Rumble. Like, there's Jack Swagger won a Money in the Bank ladder match. He's never going to win a Rumble, and you would never believe he was going to win a Rumble. Also, side note,
I just meant that in terms of odds, by the way. Sorry, I just meant that in terms of like statistically, you have a 1 in 30 chance to win the Rumble if you get in it. You have a 1 in 6 chance of winning the ladder match. Just trying to keep it kayfabe.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying it in practice, so technically in kayfabe, but more so outside. A long shot has a better chance of winning Money in the Bank than the Royal Rumble. There's never 6 believable. But there's never 6 believable winners in a Royal Rumble. There's only ever 3 at most. Sometimes a good year they have 4 or 5. There's.
I think we're saying the same thing.
We're kind of are, but I'm just saying, like, I think the Money in the Bank is better for actual unpredictability, but not to main event WrestleMania because it's just
because Jack Swagger shouldn't be main eventing really WrestleMania.
Yeah,
ever.
Also,
Sandow, you were saying, sorry.
But Sandow should come back to play Elias and team with Ezekiel, and that needs to happen because he has the look and he has the chops. But
Elidow.
I don't know if you could play guitar, but you could fake that sort of thing. It's okay. Ashley Simpson did it on SNL or whatever. So.
Oh my gosh.
But
Oof, it
yeah, no,
actually Simpson
deep
reference.
pull. But yeah, it's just weird. It's not a good idea. And also there's only 2 main events, So how are 2 Money in the Bank winners and 2 Royal Rumble winners gonna main event? It's kind of silly. But I agree with you, Rev, that I like Elimination Chamber as the second, because I'll defend, because Elimination Chambers usually gets lumped in with the Hell in a Cells and TLCs of the world, and why do they have to do the stipulation pay-per-view? But I love the idea that it's if you don't win the Rumble, fuck you. You got to go through Elimination Chamber to get to Mania. I like that
that's my favorite thing.
But also, you don't have to name the pay-per-view Elimination Chamber. I think No Way Out was perfectly fine as the name of the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. But that's like.
And then you have the chamber, at No Way Out, where you can't get out of the chamber.
Yeah. So, that's not that big a deal. But yeah, it's one of those ones where I'm kind of with Chad, where I don't think that they're actually going to do it or go through with it. I think but then they filmed it, so I don't know. We'll see in the next few weeks. I'm very interested, because Money in the Bank always delivers. I don't know how you guys felt about the pandemic Money in the Bank, where they had to climb to the roof, but
that was pretty funny.
I fucking love that shit, man. That was the best cinematic match besides the Firefly Funhouse.
Rey Mysterio died. He got thrown off a 20-story building.
Yeah.
So did Aleister Black. I'm really surprised he didn't work that into his character in AEW. At some point.
He should have won that also, but.
I mean, Otis winning at the time was hilarious and funny. So.
Yeah, it worked. It was enjoyable.
Everything was really coming up Otis, And how did things get worse? Oh, the Miz got involved.
Don't do this.
No, that match was fun. It was just great shit all around. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see with this Money in the Bank stuff. I don't trust it. It doesn't make sense. Does that mean Cody wins and then he just does nothing until he goes on to main event WrestleMania?
Oh God.
He just challenges he's like, I'm gonna cash this in at WrestleMania, against whoever the champ is, and I'm gonna wait till then, and just declares it like Cena did, like an asshole.
Even when someone wins the Rumble and they have their path to WrestleMania, they don't do anything for 2 months, because usually the champion has at least one more title defense between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. So the person who won the Rumble is in limbo for at least 4 weeks. So you're going to have someone win the opportunity in the summer and then be in limbo for half a fucking year, more than half a year, until WrestleMania. You could barely handle the Rumble to WrestleMania time.
Unless they do the Miz treatment and give them a title in between, so they have both. But that's,
they're still going to be in. It's still limbo.
It is still limbo technically. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see it working. Maybe if it was closer to WrestleMania, I would. Who knows? Maybe if it was instead of TLC, we had Money in the Bank in December, and that was a ticket to WrestleMania. I'm okay with toying with the ways to get to WrestleMania. I'm actually okay with that, but it doesn't make sense to do it this far out. It really doesn't.
Yeah, there's too much time. There's too many things that can go wrong. People get hurt, whatever it is. It's just, you're playing with fire at that point.
Yeah, because before you know it, the winner, then you'll have to do a Money in the Bank on Raw or SmackDown if the winner's injured or something. It's too much.
Yeah, I think they should just leave it the way it is. Like I said, I think it's fine. Has it been poorly booked in recent years? Yeah, probably. Point of diminishing returns. It gets harder and harder to book things like that. But I think it's good. But the fact that it's worded the way it is in that video package, WWE is fairly particular about their editing, especially with those things. I mean, shit, they edited in a crowd shot from 10 years ago, during the pay-per-view, I think it was the other day. So, what was it, a Cena promo or something from 10 years ago? somebody
when
caught
he
them
came
doing?
out as the Doctor of Thugonomics in the feud with The Rock.
Yep.
They've cut in Brock Lesnar guy reacting to that.
And then I think somebody also called them on during their heels show. It was the clip of Stephanie turning on Vince and joining up with Triple H, and then they cut to the crowd, and it's a shot from the night after. Is the Eddie Guerrero tribute show, which was like months later or before, so like whatever it was. Like it was a completely different shot. So they're very particular with their editing. They know what the fuck they're doing when they do shit like that. So
I'm afraid.
yeah, well, look, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it pans out the way we would like it to, and Money in the Bank stays Money in the Bank. But it remains to be seen. So I think that about wraps things up here on the Market Down podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll say it every week until it happens. When we get to 100 subscribers, James, who is obviously not here today, will wrap and dye his hair green. Be sure to check out the rest of the channel. James is actually on assignment. He was at AEW Dynamite out on Long Island this week. So hopefully we'll be able to get you some content from there. Also, you can go check out our live post show. He ended up doing a live report from the bathroom of UBS Arena. So be sure to check that out as well. Be sure to check out all of our social media stuff. It'll be in the description below. So for Chad Big Bag Johnson, Dana Hernandez, I'm Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time here on the Market Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.